Welcome everybody to the next instalment of the Snap Count podcast. Today I am joined by three of the team. To my left is Danny, the T-boy Jerem, who is the middle forgotten Jerem brother, the one we hate the most.
He's crying internally.
Crying internally with my scathing introduction. Across from me is Sir Matthew of Field, the Scoutmaster.
Evening.
Over there. And we have Stephen Billingsworth sat to my right.
Hello.
I can't remember what you said your thing was on there.
Something about useless historical stats.
Useless historical
it's
stats.
Sufficiently unmemorable.
There we go.
I don't even know what it is.
Steve is useless.
It's definitely more generous than T-Boy, I'd say.
Well, you're the one
I'll
who put T-boy.
I didn't actually put anything. That was,
did you not? That was
Nick's
Nick's decision. That
Yeah.
was a
You need to be
production
more
decision.
decisive.
No,
I think
sorry.
that's the moral of the story.
Okay, so today we're gonna do the usual. We're gonna talk about a bit of news, and then we all know that there is. Well, you should know that the combine is coming up this weekend. So we'll have a little chat about the combine, and we thought it'd be fun to have a little bit of a talk through last year's rookies as well. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat about ones that we thought did well, ones that we didn't think so great. So we'll start with retirements. Now there's been a few sort of big retirements. Now in honour of the Scoutmaster, as I said before, we're going to start with Charles Woodson. We did mention him as a player last week, but tell you what, I'll let you do it, Matthew. Just.
Charles Woodson, basically, he is a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer and
definitely.
Genuine legend in the game.
He is. He's great.
It's the fact that he started, obviously, Heisman Trophy winner, beat Peyton Manning, come out the draft, first round, played cornerback for many years, and then transitioned to safety as he started to get older.
And he picked him off this year. He picked Peyton.
Finally.
That's it.
First time in his career.
Final season, he did it, and
That's what he was waiting for before he
Exactly.
retired.
Yeah.
And then once he did that, the decision was made. Let's finish the season. And
now he can
call
just
it a day.
retire back to his vineyards. He likes his wine. And
As
my
a
kind of
Charger
man.
fan, I will point out that he had to wait until Peyton Manning was barely serviceable as an NFL quarterback before he could pick him off.
That's a fair point. That might be a bit more of a reflection on the Raiders' defence of recent years than much. But I think we can all agree that Woodson has been a cracking safety for you guys. And yeah, I think shoo-in for Hall of Fame. Got to be.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
You know, he's just an outstanding player. So apologies to Mr. Woodson. He's a big fan of ours, good friend. Dave's got his mobile number. We're like brothers really to him. So next one is Jared Allen. He will have a special place in my heart because he played for the Bears. Not very well, but he played for the Bears. But Steve, what did you think of his kind of exit announcement strategy? Did you see it?
I've not watched it. I'm aware of roughly what he did.
It's outstanding.
Sounds interesting.
brilliant. Look it
it's
up.
probably worth looking up, particularly as I'm on an NFL-based podcast.
Yes,
but he's a borderline Hall of Fame type guy. The production he's had over a long period is very good.
Yeah. Particularly
Primarily
for the
in his
Vikings,
stretch with Minnesota.
he was good for the
He
Vikings.
blew hot and cold a little early in his career. Had some problems off the field, which he seemed to sort out. By all reports, he's a good guy. And it would have been fitting had he departed with a ring, but it wasn't meant to be.
No, I think that's right. And he did actually play very well once he went to Carolina. I'll be the first to admit I thought Jared Allen was a great player, but he didn't fit the 3-4 defense. He's a 4-3 defensive end because he's a little bit smaller, and he just didn't fit it. Just we should mention that his exit strategy was to ride off into the distance on a horse, which was spectacular. I mean, there was mist. There was
wasn't
almost
quite
music.
as much sunset.
No,
It wasn't quite riding off into the sunset.
It wasn't.
He even said himself.
He did. It was
he's just
riding
gonna
off
ride
into the mist.
I think
really,
it tops Lynch's
It does.
egotistical retirement. It was a little bit more humorous rather than just look at me.
Lynch has 100% confirmed now, hasn't he? That he's going,
I think
or
that
is it still?
I don't think he's actually said it in as many words.
He's probably never going to say
a
yeah,
picture
is he
instead
really?
of 1,000 words.
He is enigmatic.
Yeah, he's probably just not going to turn up in Seattle for training. That'll be the way that they'll know.
Unless
They
someone
won't
tries
know
to find him.
unless someone tries to find him. Yeah, that's true. He'll be on the set of the league. Although actually that's stopped.
It's finished.
Yeah.
Ballers maybe.
Yeah, Ballers maybe. So the other big retirement of this week was Steelers tight end Heath Miller. Bit of a surprise, I think. But Danny, what do you think?
I totally agree. It was definitely a surprise. It wasn't one I was expecting.
Yeah, there was no real news of it in the pipeline, really, was there?
No, it just
Maybe injuries have caught up with him. I'm not sure.
I don't know the reasons that he's decided to.
Speed's never been something that he's had to rely on. So he's big, he's strong.
Yeah.
He's got good hands.
He's a guy that's seen a lot of snaps, and it
Yes.
might just be an accumulation of that body of work that's kind of caught up with him,
Yeah.
rather than a specific injury as such. Just his body prying enough.
He's just too old, really. He can't. Well, I don't even know how old he is, but he's been there for quite a long time, really, hasn't
He
he?
was at Steelers for I think 10 or 11 years.
I think it was 05 he was drafted.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so it's quite a while. In fact, he's made his money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just
I
go
think-
and retire somewhere.
I think he's never started fewer than 13 or 14 games a season as well.
He's
solid.
solid. He's solid.
I mean, do you
doesn't
think
miss
the
a
Dependable.
Steelers' offense is going to miss him much, or
No,
with the amount of weapons they've got? It's
I would
sort
say
of-
probably not.
Yeah.
It may miss some blocking. They may need
Yeah.
to address that in a draft or free agency.
Yeah, they've got such a strong receiver core that they don't really need a Jimmy Graham kind of receiving tight end. Yeah, they need one that can block
Yeah.
well, and one that is an option.
An end zone threat.
Yeah, an end zone threat. Exactly, not somebody who you need to stretch the field. So he probably will be missed, but I think they can replace him relatively easily. It's not like they're losing Antonio Brown or anything like that.
No offense, Heath.
Yeah, no offense, Heath. So those are the big retirements of this week. We're going to move on to cuts now. Everybody loves cuts at this time. So there's been a couple of relatively big cuts, starting with 3 players from the now crowned LA Rams. Cook, so Jared Cook, Chris Long, and James Laurinaitis as well. What do we think on those, Steve?
A bit of a surprise, to be
I
totally
agree.
honest. I can understand why they've done it
Mm.
in hindsight, but it's not something I'd expected. I think with Laurinaitis, he's been a good player there for a long time. But Ogletree, who admittedly missed quite a bit of time last year, is now the superior
He is, yeah.
middle linebacker for them. And they pushed Barron up from safety, and I think he did quite a good job in his absence, which is probably I expect he's on a lower cap number than Laurinaitis. I guess he's on a pretty big deal. Cook has underperformed for years, bags of ability, but he never delivers. And Long, I guess it's just age and injury that has forced him out.
I think it's a shame because Long and oh god, my mind's gone completely blank.
Robert Quinn.
That's the guy, Quinn. Jesus. So yeah, Long and Quinn have been pretty good teaming for the past few years.
Well, the whole
both
D-line
defensive
has
ends.
been
Yeah, well, the whole
solid.
D-line.
Aaron
and
Donald
now-
as well.
Yeah, Aaron Donald. You've got to think though, certainly Laurinaitis is going to get snapped up.
Yeah.
You know, off free agency. There's a lot of teams.
I
that
think
need-
all 3.
I think all. Well, Cook probably on name. He is rubbish.
Yeah, I think
They're-
in terms of ability, he's the one that's got the least to offer. And
Yeah.
and
You
I
do have to
think
look
teams
at
will
some
probably
of the
look at
quarterbacks he's had. I mean, over the last couple of seasons at
Fair
the
point.
Rams,
That's a
he
fair point.
hasn't had.
that. Yikes.
Well, the passing offense there doesn't really exist.
No, well they've had Bradford, they've had Foles. What are you talking about? That's solid. They're solid. They've had Austin.
Maybe it's because you're used to watching Jay every week. That's why you're.
See, we talked about this pre-show about apparently me always bringing up the Bears.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me
Done it
this
for
time.
him.
But now that we have brought them up,
Yeah.
Laurinaitis could make our team a bit better. But I mean, I've got higher aims for us. I want us to maybe get Trevathan or Brandon Marshall or
Brandon
Malik
Marshall.
Jackson.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
I thought you
not
meant
the one we had.
wide receiver
the other
back.
defensive
Yeah.
Brandon
yeah,
Marshall.
the other one, not the one we had.
Yeah.
So another big name, I suppose, is Antonio Cromartie, cut by the Jets.
Yep.
He
Didn't have a great year,
no, it's fair to say. It's fair to say.
which was good for me as a Cardinals fan because we had him the year before and he did all right for us.
Yeah.
So when he went back to New York, it was quite nice to see him struggle.
Do we think that he is going to end up somewhere else? He probably is.
He
isn't
will end
Yeah.
up somewhere else. He was on a deal there where it's sort of a year to year. There's no guaranteed money, so it's easy
No.
for the Jets to release him.
Yeah.
Provided he's prepared to take a pay cut.
He will.
find a
He
contract
did it
elsewhere.
before when he went
I
to
think
the
he's got a lot
Cardinals.
of kids that he needs to pay for.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As many as P-Riv?
Yeah,
almost
Shirley
as many
Rivers
mothers
is,
as well.
Oh,
I
really?
think, actually, yeah, it's one of those situations.
P-Riv
Rivers must
is
be
is
top
the-
of the table in
yeah.
terms of offspring.
He-
He's got
he's
about
got some good-
25.
He's got
now,
an
hasn't
army.
he? He's
Yeah.
got quite a lot of
That's
kids.
a lot of kids.
Um,
You got.
What
Yeah,
else is
free
there to do
school
in
in-
San Diego?
Well, I've been to San Diego. It's lovely. But yeah, what else is there to do? So today there has been a little bit of news that Colston may be going. So Marquise Colston from the Saints, he may be going. Not the biggest loss, fair to say, Feet?
I think in the last couple of years, well, I'm trying to think what he's done.
He ruined my fantasy team 2 years ago.
You ruined your fantasy team for putting him in it.
Well,
I won the league.
Fantasy-wise,
you know that,
4 or 5 years ago, he was a solid, real top-notch receiver. But whether it's fantasy or actually performance, he's not cutting it really.
No,
they need to get younger at wide receiver, and they need a bigger.
Well, they've got Cooks,
actor.
who's been very good.
He's
Yep.
a smaller type receiver though.
He is a
in comparison to Colston.
Yeah, exactly. So, Colston, he is probably going to go. It's kind of only rumours really at the minute, but he is going to go. Now we're going to move on to two quarterbacks. One of which his boss, the big boss at the Redskins, has basically said no more. That's Mr. Robert Griffin III. Danny, big fan?
Not particularly. We'll not go into the fantasy realm of that.
No.
But I mean, RG3 even pretty much said it himself. I can't remember exactly what the message was, but he basically cleared out his locker at the end of the season and left a message for the team and the fans. But yeah, now they're coming out and basically saying he can do a great job for another team.
Do you think that's true?
Not us.
No?
He needs to get his head sorted, I think.
He needs to learn to throw.
Yeah, but I think his biggest strength really is his mobility, and he was sort of one of the new generation like rushing quarterbacks. But he'd never seemed last season. He never seemed to be confident when he was rushing, and he just it's.
I'm not sure if his knee really has ever recovered. Like.
But then you've got to say, if it is his knee, if it's going to become a problem in the future, he's never really going to have that much value. If his value is in his rushing ability.
I still think that there's enough on tape from prior to the injury, and that someone will take a punt on him.
I think that's what he's going to have to rely on.
Yeah, whether he's on a roster come week 1 is debatable.
That's
he will have a
I think he
pre-season
will.
and a training camp somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. Whether or not he stays there,
There'll be a team who doesn't get a quarterback in the draft, who needs one, and it could. I doubt the Browns. The Browns should get one early on.
Well, yeah,
but it could be that. Even, I mean, how ironic would this be? He could end up with the Rams, even though the Redskins were the team who gave up everything to the Rams.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it could. They need a quarterback, and they're with their typical 7-9 season, they're actually relatively far down the draft.
Yeah.
So whether or not they get one of the big names, probably not. Another rushing quarterback that may go. There haven't really been talks of him being kicked out of San Francisco, but Kaepernick. Not really been great for them the past couple of years. A bit like RG3, had a very good first year. Again, pretty good with his legs, not so great with his throwing arm. Would anyone want him, Steve?
Again, teams I think would be interested at a price. Whether that's a price he'd be willing to expect given what he's used to receiving, I don't know. But I think he seems a pretty good fit with a Chip Kelly offense. It wouldn't surprise me if Chip keeps hold of him and tries to do something with him. I'd have said he's a better fit to the type of offense Chip wants to run than Sam Bradford.
Yeah, that's true.
Albeit with the limitations that come with
Kaepernick.
with Kaepernick, yeah.
Well, and they've got Blaine Gabbert still, who showed against the Bears that he can.
Anyone
run,
who
destroy
gets
dreams.
dropped for Blaine Gabbert, I mean, there's got to be soul destroying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blaine Gabbert did well. We've got to say, he did
To
well.
be fair, I've never seen him play better.
No, well, that's a fair point. So, any other business? Steve, you did mention that maybe it wasn't you. Was it you, Matthew, who mentioned about signings?
Signings, yes, there were a couple of signings that I thought could lead to future cuts, free agency, by the Broncos. They signed Phil Taylor, former first rounder by the Browns.
Not the darts player.
Not the darts player, no.
Just checking.
He's actually bigger than the darts player.
He should have the power. That's the nickname.
It could lead to possibly Malik Jackson
to the
not
Bears.
re-signing with the
Yeah, you're right. Going to the Bears. Yeah.
Not to the Bears. Although they do have the money.
Who was it bringing up the Bears this time, Bob?
Yes. And
I think that's 4 times already this show. But anyway,
one other signing, someone who no one really knows, Richard Gordon, tight end, but it could have a link to Vernon Davis possibly leaving as well. He didn't really do anything when he went across from San Francisco there, but he's got a career to resurrect or maybe another retirement on the cards.
Well, a couple of seasons ago, Vernon Davis was one of the top tight ends.
Yeah.
Quick, good hands. Didn't show it the last couple of seasons, so God knows what's happened to him, but just not been great. So, any other business that we've got to talk about?
Randy Gregory.
Oh yes, Randy.
So
Naughty boy.
yet another failed drug test
Naughty
for
boy.
the Cowboys' second rounder from last year. 4-game ban this time. He's obviously got talent, but he needs to sort his life out off the field.
Was it second round they got him? Was it?
I think he dropped to the second
round, yes.
because he failed his drugs test at the combine last year.
Where he was looking at
Genius.
the top 10 pick. At the
Yeah,
time.
Oh,
so
dear.
he's already
Oh, dear.
cost himself an awful lot of money there. The kid's obviously got talent, but he's got to stop doing
He does.
this
He
sort
did
of thing.
drugs.
Yeah,
He does.
Drugs are
stop
bad,
doing
kids.
the drugs.
Stop doing the
Drugs
drugs.
are
They took a punt on him, and it didn't really work out. It was kind of, if I seem to remember at the draft, all of the experts were saying they're taking a punt on him. There, if it works out, brilliant. You've got a great player. If not, you've got somebody who's going to get arrested for drugs a lot, which and being a naughty.
It
boy
seems
again.
that the Cowboys are the team that have the I'll say lowest moral compass in that respect.
That's
They
a
picked
fair
up Greg
point.
Hardy.
They did pick up.
There's
Greg
now
Hardy.
rumours that they're interested in Johnny Manziel. I think maybe that's gone a bit quiet.
They haven't got any scruples,
Yeah.
Danny. That's what it is. No scruples. So I just wanted to. There's a little article that I read today. It was quarterback favourites of the American public. I don't think they asked. Well, they might have put it on the website. I didn't see it, but anyway, quarterback favourites. So I will read the top 4, and I will let you have let you have a guess each at who number 5 is. So number 1, Tom Brady. He's the people's favourite. Don't know why I don't like him.
People's champ.
Number 2, Peyton. Number 3, A-Rod. Aaron Rodgers. Number 4, Super Cam. So number 5, Danny. Who do you think it is? He is a current player.
Okay.
He might not be on a team, but he is a current player.
I'm
I said might not.
gonna go with Tony Romo.
No.
Oh.
Might not be on a team. I mean, is that a
Oh, I
hint?
didn't. Yeah,
It might be a hint.
Didn't pick
It
that up,
might be a
actually.
hint. It might not be a hint. The word
Uh,
might is mysterious.
okay. Well, I was going to go with someone on the team then. Drew Brees.
No.
I was going to go Romo, so I'll go out there. I'd love it to be Johnny Manziel.
It's not Johnny Manziel. It is Timothy Tebow.
Oh, wow.
How could we
Okay.
forget?
Still,
Of course.
he's still in the public eye in America, so they still love a bit of Tebow.
Is he still
Well,
a
he's
virgin?
a nice.
Is he still a virgin?
Is that a question? Can we say that?
We can say that. I don't know whether we can really speculate on Mr. Tebow's sexual
I think
conquest.
I'm fairly sure he remains unmarried, which means he is.
which
Yeah.
means he is.
There you go.
Ah, poor
There we
Tim.
go.
The mystery
Well,
is solved.
Tim, the American public still love you. We love you.
I mean,
so-
he's still doing lots of charity work, and so he
Exactly,
might not be on
he's
the
a
field,
nice-
but he's
he's
doing
not
all
on
the
the field.
things that matter.
Chip
at
Kelly
the end
gave
of the
him
day.
a
Yes.
shot.
Last
Right,
pre-season,
we,
he looked okay.
We need to move on. So what we'll do is we'll talk about the combine. We're not going to delve too much into rookies that are coming into it because that is going to be a lengthy podcast. We will next week talk about how the combine went and any rookies that we thought looked quite good as we go through it. So I'm just going to talk through basically what the combine is.
Tell us, Bob.
It starts, technically it starts kind of tomorrow and Thursday with all the press tours and things like that. Friday is when the workouts themselves start. So it works with Friday, you've got running backs, O-line and special teams. Saturday, you've got
Love special
quarterbacks. You do love special teams. Quarterbacks, wide receivers and tight ends. Sunday is your defensive line and your linebackers. And Monday is your defensive backs. Now, what they all have to do is the kind of the workout section, which is 40-yard dash, which is probably the most famous of all. Bench press, where they have to bench press 225 pounds as many times as they can. Vertical jump, self-explanatory. They jump up. And they have to hit that whittly thing, whatever it is, I don't know what it's called. Broad jump, they have to jump forward and see how far they can jump. 3-cone drill, They start, they run round a cone, they run back, they run around, they just run around cones, and a shuttle run, which is where they have to run laterally, then drop back, and then run diagonally back. So that is what every single player has to do. Obviously, different positions are going to be better at different certain things. So your O-line, your D-line, bench presses, your 40-yard dash is going to be all about your wide receivers and your running backs. So, a little game for you guys. I do have the recent leaders for each of those sections. So I'm going to ask. It'll just be to the room. So whoever kind of says it first.
Do we get
Now,
buzzers?
Just I don't know. Just say your name, I suppose.
Oh.
Just say your name, or you stick your hands up like Matthew's just done. So 40
Just
yard
great
dash.
for a podcast.
I think 40-yard dash. I think we kind of all know 40-yard.
Chris
dash.
Johnson.
It was Chris Johnson.
Yes,
do you know
I win.
Do you know
I'll
the
lose
year?
that one. No.
No. See, 2008.
2007.
2008. Close. He did it in 4:24. So 4 seconds 24. I think the
That
next
is
one
rapid.
is like 4:29 or 4:30,
It's
which
rapid,
is
yeah.
he's quick.
Only a couple have gone under.
He's kind of
4.3.
lost it a little bit now.
These
Bench
NFL
press.
players are getting slower nowadays, aren't they?
So bench press. I'll give you a couple of clues. It is a defensive lineman. He did it in 2011. He has been a Bears player.
Oh.
It might be the reason why I know who the guy is.
Oh, okay.
You'll probably know him when I say him. Any guesses? Any guesses?
I can remember when it was set. I remember reading about it, but I can't remember who it is.
Was it Pia?
It was Pia, yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen
Oh.
Pia, and he
Well
did 49, which is
That's
ridiculous.
unbelievable.
49, 225 pounds.
Just
That's
one less than me. Oh,
that's
it's embarrassing.
that's my weight, pretty much, around about that. Possibly a little bit less. I might be.
49's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Vertical jump was set last year, actually.
Yes, I know that was.
You know who it was? Go on then, Matthew.
2 records.
Yeah,
Yes,
go on
I'm.
Byron
yes.
Jones.
then. He didn't do
No.
the vertical jump.
He,
no,
he
Was it-
got the other one.
he did. He
Oh,
Chris,
sorry,
that was
wrong
the other
one.
one I was banking on.
Chris Conley is
Conley,
right.
that's
Yeah,
it.
Chris Conley,
Ah,
another
see, I did
defensive
know
back,
more
but
than I
yeah,
thought.
he got vertical jump at 45, which is I don't actually know what that. They didn't tell me what measurement that was.
Ridiculously high.
But it's still high. It's high. Byron Jones got the broad jump,
That's
same
right.
year.
So
Did
world record,
13
wasn't it?
Yeah.
12,
was it?
12
Wasn't
foot 3,
12 foot
12 foot 3
3,
inches,
yeah.
which is monster.
I saw it today
Yeah,
on Facebook.
ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
The NFL have been posting
They have
notable combines. I saw the Byron Jones one as I was flicking through, and it's insane.
It's
They've got the lines, haven't they? 3 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, and then 12.
Yeah.
Obviously, they think no one's going no, and then suddenly he goes over it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And he's not been bad. Not been bad. Well, we might talk about him. So this is the one that I'm not sure that
spoilers.
people will know. The 3-cone drill. I must admit I didn't know the guy's name. It was set in 2011. He is a wide receiver. I'll just say it because I doubt you'll guess it. But Jeffrey Mayle.
Ah, that's what I was going to say.
Now,
Tip of my tongue.
yeah, I'm not even sure whether he's still playing. I did forget to look that up, but it was him. So there we
Well
go.
done, Jeffrey.
Now the shuttle run is done. There's 2 shuttle runs. There's a 20-yard one and a 60-yard one. Now the 20-yard one was a chap called Jason Allen in 2006. So you're probably not going to know that. Now you should know this one. 2014. So this is a 60-yard shuttle run. 2014. He is a wide receiver and he is still playing now.
2014.
Yeah. Still, you'll know it when I say it. It's still very relevant. Good player.
It's not one of my favourites, is it?
I don't know. I could say
Alright.
Will drafted him in fantasy. That
Oh.
won't mean anything to the listeners.
I don't tend to pay attention to Will's drafts.
I pay
Probably
attention
pretty
to ones.
random, are they?
No guesses? Come on, 2014 class of wide receivers. You've got a lot to pick from.
Is he Jets?
He's not Jets. No,
Oh.
he's not.
Unlike
he's
the
not
majority
his,
of Will's
he's not
drafts.
his, no, he's not his team. He's a Saint.
Oh, Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10
pretty rapid.
72.
He probably wasn't too bad on the 40-yard dash as well, I imagine. Cause
No,
was-
he. I think he was quite
He
out
was
there.
out there,
I don't have his stats. So you did all right there. You got a few. Chris Conley, that was one
Did
that I
I
didn't
win?
necessarily
Did I
think
win?
you
I
get. I
think I
think
won.
Danny won. Yeah, you got CJ Tugay, you got Conley, and you got Cooks. So yeah, you win. Yay! You win nothing.
Where's my prize?
Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing. I don't give out prizes. We're not allowed. I don't know what.
Competition
So-
rules, isn't it?
So once they've all done that, once all the players have all done that, they do have their own positional drills. So, for example, the wide receivers, they have a catching drill where they have to catch one side, catch the other side, run, catch a little bit, all those nonsense. Quarterbacks have to throw. Defensive linebackers have to do pass rushing and things like that. It's very fun. It's mostly on the NFL website. They do put up a lot of stats, and you can watch it through the NFL website, I believe.
I believe so.
It is a decent watch. Admittedly, if that's all you spend your time watching, it can get a little bit dull. But particularly if you have a position that you like, or your team has a position that you know they're going to go for, then watch it. It's good fun. It's good fun. So I think that leads us
just before we move away from Combine.
Yes, go on.
Anyone that hasn't seen Tom Brady's Combine, go on YouTube and have a look, because you will not believe that he's the quarterback that he is today with the amount of rings he's got when you watch that Combine.
You will believe that he dropped all the way to the 6th round, though.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Well, he's like one of us not going out there.
Well, the thing is, I suppose it does kind of prove there has been a little bit of talk in the news. Actually, there's some people who are calling for a change of how the Combine is done.
Yes,
it does ring a little bit of it not actually making that much of a difference, other than draft, because they do pay a lot of attention. Yes, your 40-yard dash is going to say whether people are quick. Yes, your vertical jump is going to be good for your wide receivers and your defensive backs maybe. And yes, your positional drills, you're going to want to see what they can do. But it's one day, and it's one morning or one afternoon to test whatever it is. It's like a job interview. If you mess up a job interview, it doesn't mean you're not going to be good at that job. It just means that you messed up on that day. So there is a bit of a kind of talkings that they might change how it's going to work.
I could see the interview side, that getting a guy in a room with some of the front office staff is more beneficial than the actual on-field stuff these days for the teams, because even if guys aren't doing all of the drills, a lot of the players will only pick and choose certain things. They all have their own pro days at their colleges as well, which you can, if you're interested in a player, you're going to send someone from your scouting department to watch it.
Exactly. So there are a lot of other ways of sorting this out, and Tom Brady is a perfect example of that. Had a dreadful day on the actual Combine.
Bless him.
But 6th round pick, and well, look at him now. He is arguably the best quarterback of all time. Number one as a favourite quarterbacks, despite the fact that yes, none of us in this room are particularly Patriots fans. From a football point of view, Brady is brilliant. We can't deny it. He is an excellent player, and he does deserve to be widely regarded as the best quarterback.
But he should start wearing a tie.
He should start wearing a tie. Yeah. And
we're never going to let that go on this podcast.
The annoying thing about it is he's 38 now. So he's not young, and where is he slowing down? Peyton Manning has slowed down this year, and he's only a year older than him.
But at 38, Peyton Manning was still looking pretty strong.
That's a fair point.
It's only sort of in the last 18 months he's sort of fallen off.
That's a fair point. So
it could happen to Brady any time.
It doesn't look like it's going to, but then again, it didn't with Manning. So you're right. But anyway, so now we're going to move on. Now this is going to be a relatively big section, but it's going to be a fun section. We're going to have fun with it, boys. I feel like we're going to have a good time. Anyway, even if you listeners don't, we'll enjoy it. I'm excited. Well, you're always excited, inappropriately so. So we're going to talk about last year's last year's rookies, but we're going to go through it as a bit of a kind of draft order. We're not going to go through the whole draft, so don't worry, we're not going to be here for about 4 or 5 hours. But we are going to talk about some players that we think did well, some players that we weren't so keen on. So let's just start. Well, let's start randomly, and we'll start with Matthew. So first round, just pick a player that you thought impressed you, that impressed you from the first round.
Should I be biased?
You can do whatever you like.
Okay, right, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to say Amari Cooper.
I knew you were going to say that. There it is.
Sorry, the Raiders bias took over there. I couldn't control myself.
So, particular reasons?
Other
than the obvious, I suppose.
Basically, for quite some time, the Raiders have not had a number one wide receiver.
No,
and maybe so it is more team specific. But he has shown, even in a rookie year where towards the end of the year he was struggling with injuries, that I believe he's still going to be a top sort of 3-5 receiver for the next 10, 12 years.
He's a smart player. I mean, he can break coverages really, really well. He's quick. He's got good hands. Yeah, he tailed off at the end of the season, partly I think due to injury and partly because teams were just crowding him. I will say I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but he did have quite a lot of drops. He's one of the highest drops in the league this year. But it's also similar to another Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but Jerry Rice, in his first year, he had a lot of drops. He's sort of been compared as a similar type of player. So we all know what happened to
fingers
Jerry.
Crossed he turns out the same.
That should be something that's relatively easy to fix.
Yeah.
If he's getting open, but he's dropping the odd pass, it's better than not being able to get open at all.
Yeah.
And it did help that Crabtree had a great season as well, which opened up it opened up slots for Cooper because defences they couldn't just focus on one or two players. And I forget the name of your tight end.
Wolford,
The rookie tight end.
Yeah.
Clive Wolford. Third round pick.
Yeah. So you've got potential options there again to open up the field for him. And Latty Murray, you can't discount him as as a running threat because he's pretty good. We do gush. I gush about the Raiders as well because I like the Raiders as a team.
They've definitely got potential to keep getting stronger in offense. And I think Cooper, if you look at the wide receivers in the first round, really he was the only one that performed as a first round
Right,
receiver.
I'm gonna call out. You do it. You do it.
Go on. Who are you going to
No,
call
go
out?
on. I want because I know there's some animosity here.
I'm going to call out Dave. Now, Dave, he is our stat man. He is our fact man. He's very, very good when it starts these things. But he sent us a message on the well-known chatting app, WhatsApp. It's basically saying who he thought hadn't done very well. Now, at the top of his list, bear in mind he does support the Cheeseheads, was Kevin White. Now, he was injured the entire season. You can't say that he had a bad season when he didn't play. Yes, he didn't have a good season, but you can't say he had a bad season.
He didn't have a season.
He didn't have a season. So, Dave, you shut up, and we'll see what Kevin does next year.
It's been a rollercoaster ride for you with Kevin White, hasn't it? Really, since the moment he was drafted.
Right.
I don't think you were keen on it at the time.
Immediately, you were down on him.
I
on
didn't
draft
react
day.
brilliantly to that decision. Now, the reason I didn't react brilliantly is because I thought we needed a defensive player. I thought we needed a defensive tackle. We switched our defence to a 3-4. We needed a nose tackle. And at the time, I liked Danny Shelton. And I thought yes, we might have been overreaching for him, but I thought he could have made our defence better. The fact that we got a certain player in later rounds, which I will probably mention. I'm going to mention it now. We've got Eddie Goldman in the second round. He's been brilliant.
Did well, yeah,
He's been very, very good for us. He's been solid in the centre, and he has allowed our defence to grow. So I'm happy with Kevin White, other than the fact that he obviously hurt his shin. But anyway, that's enough from me. Danny, how about you? First round, who do you think has done well?
Well, I'm gonna go with the QBs.
I thought you might.
Oh, really?
Well, I thought somebody might.
Yeah.
I thought somebody might.
Well, I was originally going to go with Gurley, but I thought I'd let someone else have that pleasure. But yeah, I think both of them have done very well for their rookie years and are deserved of having such high picks.
Mm-hmm.
You had Winston on a much improved Bucks team.
Yep.
I suppose partly thanks to him and also partly thanks to the improvement in their rushing game with Doug Martin. Mariota obviously had a bit of a tougher journey.
Our worst team this year.
Yeah,
you got to say.
But I don't think that was down to him.
No,
he did have quite a few fumbles. I think he had 10 fumbles.
That's quite a lot. Yeah,
which
ball security issues there.
That was, if I remember, that was an issue he had with his college years.
But you've got to think that the Titans O line is not very good, so he wouldn't have time.
He's under a lot of pressure.
He is under a lot of pressure, and there's gonna be some pretty big guys running at him. So and he does like to rush it. I'm surprised actually looking at the stats that you've given us, Danny, that he had significantly less rushing touchdowns than Winston. Winston actually turned out to be not a bad rushing.
He didn't rush. He basically coming into the NFL as a rushing quarterback, known as,
and didn't really rush.
He didn't rush.
No, but
I think that may have been partly for, the fact that they were probably behind in most games, so had to start passing the ball.
Exactly. He's done well though.
What do people think in terms of their next year? Who do you think is going to be? Because obviously Winston had the better year this year, but I think that was partly down to the teams rather than...
Depends on the draft, I think. If the Titans go for an O-lineman, which they desperately need to, Mariota, as long as he gets better protection, I personally thought he did enough to show a lot of potential and that he could actually turn out to be quite decent. He's got weapons there, whether they're great weapons.
Well, that's what I was going to say. To me, it's Winston because of the weapons. Because you've got Evans, Jackson... Safarian Jenkins, Martin. Yeah, you've got a player at each of the main offensive positions there that you could use as a weapon.
Exactly. So I suppose Winston.
Mariota's got Delaney Walker.
I think Mariota's he's the more intelligent quarterback in terms of his play, but as you said, Winston has got much better options at the moment. If they were on the same team, and maybe playing for the one quarterback position, then it might be a different person that would be.
Both had solid first seasons though for rookie quarterbacks chucked in at the deep end. Effectively, both had good seasons.
Definitely.
Steve, who do you think? Go on, just say your two, and we'll discuss the two.
Marcus Peters for me.
Yeah, that's
personally
a solid,
going back
choice.
to fantasy again.
Yeah.
He was a star for me. And you want a second choice? Do you?
Yeah, just throw out a second and we'll discuss both.
I'll take Todd Gurley off the board then. Take the easy one.
Why not?
Not going Melvin Gordon.
No.
We'll compare the two.
He'll be brought up shortly, I'm sure.
I think he will.
But Peters, I think, as we've discussed in previous podcasts, had an excellent year. Real playmaker in the backfield for the Chiefs. Part of a defence that carried them a long way. Got them, 11 wins or 12 wins back to back?
Yeah, it was
prior to their playoff defeat.
I think it was 12 in a row because they beat
11 regular.
Because they beat the Texans. Yeah, 11 regular and then the win against the Texans in the playoffs.
Makes sense.
And then again, Todd Gurley has been talked about at length over the last couple of weeks. But he come into the league in not it by any stretch a good situation for a running back because there's no passing game at all.
No.
It was an O-line that had I think 3 rookies.
Mm-hmm.
And he
coming back off a serious injury as well.
That's it. Coming back from a serious knee injury, missing the first 3 or 4 games, and he still went comfortably over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, it didn't seem to make a difference when he came back. He was outstanding, which was good. It was a good pick for them. I think a lot of people, including me, I think some of you guys as well. At the time when they picked him, we were thinking, well, Trey Mason did okay. They've not out of all of their weapons, they didn't have an awful backfield. But maybe we were. I think personally, I was just getting a little bit rose-tinted glasses about Trey Mason because the rest of the team is quite shoddy.
Well, they went
with
the strategy of best player available.
And
he was the best player.
Yeah.
They took him, and no looking back really.
Yeah. That's a strategy that maybe the Redskins should have done, but they took.
They picked on need.
They did. They took Brandon Scherf, who he actually wasn't bad. He was very good.
I would say good player.
And he wasn't a bad pick at all. But they passed up at the time Leonard Williams, who was meant to be the guy.
Yes.
Who actually did very well.
I think
in
Jets. Terms of defensive ends, he was a lot further ahead than the rest of the draft.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, there's my two. I'll just chuck them out. Brandon Scherf and Leonard Williams. I thought they did great. Both of them did very well in their situations, particularly Williams because there's a lot of competition at the defensive end position at the Jets, and he did so well that there's talks of whether or not, because I think both Wilkerson and Richardson have got their contracts up. Is that right?
Just Wilkerson.
Just Wilkerson.
Damon Harrison's contract, I think, might be
nose tackle.
So, but there's talks about whether or not they're going to keep everybody because they've now got Williams. But anyway, let's move on. So, if you chuck out one more that you liked, and then we'll go to the people
from the first round. Or?
Yeah, we'll do the first round again.
Okay, so from the first round, I'd say a solid player, probably a value pick to me, was New Orleans Saints. Right at the end of the first round, Stephon Anthony.
Yeah.
So he showed up pretty solid as inside linebacker.
Oh. Sorry, that's my chair. It just made a farting sound for anyone who's listening. But it was my chair, I swear. It wasn't me being rude about Matthew's choices. But good choices. I think we all agree around the table. Stephon Anthony.
Yeah, he was
very good season.
He was very good. He had strong.
Come in, started from week 1.
He did.
Impact player.
Yeah,
he did. Was there anyone in the first round, Danny, that you thought didn't have a great start?
Well, we very briefly touched on it, but I don't want Steve to get away with not talking about it more. But poor old Melvin Gordon. So I had a look at some stats beforehand, and he had just over 600 yards. Okay, that's all right. 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's not so good.
No.
And then put 6 fumbles on top of that as well, and that's really not the production you want from a first round running back.
And the shame it really is that he had the opportunity, Steve. Would you agree?
Well, he did. He got a lot of touches in terms of opportunity, but right from day one in pre-season, he looked hesitant at the line of scrimmage. Wasn't bursting through the seams, and he struggled all year. He never got going. Wasn't helped obviously by an O-line that chopped and changed from week to week with injuries.
Yeah, very banged up.
But That said, it was still a very disappointing return in year one.
Yeah, it was, and he was touted as almost a safe bet. Todd Gurley was the risky one, the better player when he plays, but Melvin Gordon was, he was the every down back, the bruiser back, who plug him in and he'll do whatever you ask of him. And you're right, he was hesitant, and Danny Woodhead outplayed him. I like Danny Woodhead. He's a very versatile little back. You can use him in pretty much any situation.
He's an excellent role player.
He's not an every down back,
very few people that can do what he does.
There are people who try. But you've got to say, I mean, he's what, Darren Sproles, maybe not so much now, but Darren Sproles was a very similar player.
Lewis,
very similar player. Yeah. So there are people like him. Anyone else, Matthew, who you think didn't have a great
Well, I'm
going
to pick a team more than a player, because I think they wasted their first round pick, and that's the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I thought you might say that. Yeah.
Again, towards the end of the first round, they picked Philip Dorsett. Now, I can't argue that he's not a good player. He was injured for some of the season, but I know they obviously went with maybe best player available again, but it was someone who showed up and sort of had a very good highlight reel of the season and at the combine, and then has probably been overdrafted.
Yeah, definitely.
At a position that they were already strong at. So, and they really needed help defensively anywhere. And O-line as well was pretty awful. And so that was a wasted pick to me.
Well, I agree. I think you've got to say, in that situation, taking the best player available probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Yeah. It did go defence. There was so many. I mean, you look at the defensive players who were taking Demarius Randall straight after him, Stephon Anthony, the next pick, Malcolm Brown, Landon Collins.
Any one of those would have been a team.
Yeah, would have been brilliant. And what did they go and waste it on Philip Dorsett? Who, he was a fine player, but they didn't need him at the time because they've got Ty. They've just picked up Andre Johnson. They've got decent wide receivers.
It's a crunch year for the Colts next year.
Yeah.
Head coach, GM.
I'm surprised.
If they start badly, they'll both be out within probably after 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, it was pretty poor. I'm going to put in my one. I've already mentioned him from the first round, who was a bit poor. Danny Shelton. Now, for me, I just don't think. Partly his situation. I mean, the Browns, they're not great on either side of the ball. Their defense is not awful, I suppose, but he just didn't show what I expected him to show. He's a big lad, and he should be able to plug any gap. And he is one of the true nose tackles that came from the draft.
He should be dominant in the middle of that line of scrimmage.
And he wasn't.
He didn't show it.
No.
Well, I'm going to counter that and say that
all right.
Actually, I think he is going to have a big year next year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just think for his first year, he wasn't amazing.
Yeah, but I could see him
for the Browns.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can. I see they've got a new
every show so far.
A new coaching
your love for the Browns has come out.
Secret Browns fan.
What they've got is they've got a new head coach, obviously, but they've got back their old defensive coordinator as well, Ray Horton. And last time he was there, they had a very good defense. Bringing him back, I think it's going to do the same thing.
I honestly, when you said that you were going to talk about a team, I thought you were going to go Browns because
isn't it destiny for
no? I have to show.
I've
got to show some love for the Browns.
But Danny Shelton didn't have a great season, and they picked Cameron Irving at centre as well, and he didn't have an amazing season.
Well, we do forget they had 2 first-round picks again.
They did, and they weren't great. So the Browns notoriously cannot draft.
It was a good draft, despite their recent standards.
It's a fair point.
It's a step in the right.
They need to get Kevin Costner in the back office.
They do. Well, they need to get Kevin
day.
to swap all his drafts and then get them back for the original draft and get Vontae Mack. Oh, he was good, wasn't he? Vontae Mack instead of I can't remember the quarterback's name. I like that film. I like that. Does everyone think it's dreadful?
Well, I liked how they managed the trades. That's just unbelievable trades.
Yeah, but it's Hollywood cheese.
It's fiction.
We know that it doesn't work like that, but it's Hollywood cheese, and I quite liked it. I like Costner. What's wrong with Costner? Bit Dances with Wolves. No, all right. Come on, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
Okay, right. That's a good.
Give that to him.
We'll get back to football now. But
that's
Costner's great. Right, let's move on to the second round. Steve, do you want to give us just one player that you thought from the second round who showed a very good first season?
For me, Ronald Darby.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I forgot.
I actually, when we did our rankings a week or two ago, I had him above Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
For Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think he didn't have the splash plays, the interceptions, the pick sixes.
He didn't.
That Peters did, but I think he looked very good. What did help him at the start of the season is he had Stephon Gilmore opposite him.
Mm-hmm.
But even when Gilmore went down injured, he continued to play at a high level and was a key part of the Bills' D.
He was good, yeah, and arguably a Bills D that hasn't been their best defence for a few years. Bit odd, seeing as Rex Ryan is defence, and seemed to do more with the offence than anything. But yeah, Ronald Darby had a solid season, and I agree with you. Definitely one of the best defensive rookies of the entire thing, really. So, Feet, who's your pick?
Well, this is going to please one of our colleagues. Yeah. Landon Collins for the Giants.
I thought you were going to say Goldman.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Gary will love that.
Bringing those bears up.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I've got Giants on this one. I love Landon Collins. Yep, very good player to me. He had there wasn't really anything around him. Everyone kept getting injured.
Yeah,
so the fact that he didn't get injured and he was a Giants player was a positive. I'm going to take that as a positive.
No injury.
But I think he's going to be a very solid player going forward.
I agree. I think he showed smart play. His positioning was very good, and his coverage it wasn't brilliant, but it was okay. It was workable.
Improvement.
It was workable. Danny,
I think it's much harder to find someone in the second round. I think someone that I think could improve over the years is Doral Green-Beckham.
Yeah.
He started slow. As we mentioned before with the Titans, not a good season for them in general. But he did get over 500 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, and he's got the physicality to improve. I think he's very raw at the moment.
Yeah.
And once the team around him starts improving and maybe they start improving his sort of more technical side of his game, I think he could.
Was he the guy who was compared to
Megatron?
Megatron when he was coming into it, because he's
a
quite a
very
big
similar
guy.
deal.
He did pretty well towards the end of the season, didn't he?
Yeah, it was, as I said, it was just a slow start for him.
Yeah.
I think like I said, he didn't have the best year, but there's definitely potential that he can turn into a big name for them.
Yeah. So I agree. My choice is going to be inside linebacker Eric Kendricks from the Vikings. When they've got such a strong defense, and arguably one of the best defensive players from last year. I think he won defensive player from last season, Anthony Barr. He might not have won it, defensive rookie, but he was certainly in contention for it. Eric Kendricks, he didn't outshine him, but Aaron Donald, it was Aaron Donald. But anyway, Anthony Barr, great player. Eric Kendricks just slotted in really nicely as well. So they've got an absolute monster of front seven.
Yeah. Really good core moving forward.
Yeah,
young
as well. Yeah, exactly. Young, which is great, and you've got the likes of Everson Griffin in front of you.
Going to dominate that division, aren't
they? Probably. Shut up. Probably. So. I mean, the second round, there wasn't actually that many busts from the second round.
I think there was a lot of value picks there.
Yeah, a lot of value picks. I mean, people we didn't mention, Denzel Perryman.
He was a good player.
He was a good player.
I think he'll feature more next year.
Who wants to try and pronounce the Saints linebacker who had a quite good year?
Kikaha.
Haoli
Kikaha.
Yeah, I think we should save ourselves there.
But, he had a good year, whatever his name is.
Yeah, he did. And even Frank Clark for the Seahawks didn't have a bad year as well.
A couple of O-line in there, had some good years.
Some good players.
We can't miss out the O-line.
No, can't miss out the O-line. So now we're going to delve into the later rounds. I think if we just sort of pick players from anywhere really that we feel, because we're running a little bit out of time. Danny, any player that you want to pick from anywhere in the rest of the draft that you thought had a great start and possibly could do well next year?
Well, I'm going to be jumping on the bias bandwagon and going with someone from my own team.
Oh.
As soon as we've reached the third round now, it's David Johnson.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that.
He was mainly being used as a receiving running back and doing the sort of pass catching routes, but he evolved into much more when Chris Johnson went down injured and really just stepped into that role and took over. Over 1,000 yards when you combine his rushing and his receiving.
No one expected him to.
I think that he was looked at that sort of pass catching type of runner, and that was it. But he's shown that he's had a lot.
He's
game.
a beast. Just looking at his stats now, 580 plus rushing yards, and that is bearing in mind that almost the first half of the season he didn't really do a lot.
Yeah, he was coming in every now and then. But
450 receiving.
Also,
eight
doesn't
rushing
include
touchdowns.
what he did in the playoffs.
No, no, it doesn't.
And he was very strong there too.
He was very strong. I agree, and I think certainly even from a fantasy point of view, he's going to go reasonably high next year.
Yeah.
I would say, possibly even
running
first round.
Going to be interesting.
Running back's going to be
year.
awful next year. It
But
really is.
As a Cardinals fan, I'm definitely feeling confident with him moving forward, because Ellington did all right. Not last season, the season before, but I didn't feel confident.
No.
And David Johnson sort of.
Ellington's very
stepped
fragile.
up. Yeah,
He's not a 3-down back.
No, he's not.
He's an
we tried to
excellent
use
change
him
of pace,
as one.
complementary guy.
yeah.
Which now, if you've got David Johnson as your 3-down back, which he's showed potential to be, and then Ellington for your change of plays and things like that, that's perfect. Perfect for your offense.
Hopefully,
Yeah, well,
Super Bowl winning.
yeah, exactly.
Just got to hope
Yeah.
Palmer throws a few picks, a few less picks.
yeah.
Boo, Palmer. Steve, anyone else jump out at you from the rest of the draft?
I'm going to go to the Bucks linebacker Quan Alexander.
Yeah.
So similar to Kendricks.
What round was he in? Oh, fourth
he
round.
was a fourth rounder.
Early fourth round.
So he unfortunately is another one who ended his season early with a ban that I think was drugs related. Otherwise, he could well have been in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he come in. They have already Levante David, who's an impact player, in kind of like Anthony Barr with the Vikings, and just like Kendricks, Alexander slotted in alongside and played just as big a role.
He did 3 sacks, 6 tackle for losses, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. That's not bad numbers. 9 pass deflections. That's very good numbers. He was a solid player, and again, Tampa Bay's defense is not bad. Their front seven is not bad. They might not show it every week, but they're not awful. So yeah,
They need a bit more pass rush.
They do need a bit more pass rush. Yeah, that's true. But with, like you say, Levante David and Quan Alexander, they've got a decent linebacker kind of set to build upon, which is good. Feet, who's yours?
Well, I'm going to go for 2.
Oh, really?
Just because it's the same position. So
all right, fair enough.
They were similar. 3rd round, Tyler Lockett.
Very
and
good. Yeah.
5th round, Diggs.
Stefan
Diggs.
Diggs, Vikings. Both had very good seasons. Lockett's just explosive whenever he gets the ball, really. We saw a little bit more receiving, not only return more earlier
He
this
grew
season.
as the year went on, didn't he?
Yeah,
He did.
Diggs was just a surprise, really. He turned out to be the main receiver at the Vikings.
And our man Rishi Dougal, he spotted that a mile
absolutely
off,
loved
didn't
him, didn't he? Loved him.
Well, to be
For
fair,
a while, then he was trying to trade him away.
Well, when he picked him up on fantasy, I think a lot of us, certainly as getting like myself, I was just, I wasn't like who I knew who Diggs was, but I was just like, why is he?
There's a
picking him up?
reason why you thought that, though, isn't there?
Well, because he's a Viking.
No, because you finished last. The rest of us were already.
That's fair. Well, I didn't finish last in the league.
Okay.
But I did overall. Yeah. Well, let's not talk about that. We're not
Okay,
talking
sorry.
about fantasy today, Matthew. Shut your face. Shut your goddamn face.
But yeah, I definitely agree with the
Yeah,
Lockett
I agree
pick.
with those two,
I think
certainly.
it worked very well how they introduced Lockett into the team as well, with him
Mm.
mainly being in a skill position at first and then taking
He's just quick
taking
as
more
hell.
reps. And
He's quick and he's a smart runner.
His return ability is unbelievable.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just makes so many people
It's-
miss.
Well, like we talked about last week, that's why he made our All-Pro team as a returner. And, you know, he was the only... We did question rookies last week, but he was the only one that I think all of us agreed. He was an absolutely cracking returner. Well, that's why he made the team. For me, I'm gonna go. Well, I'm gonna say Thomas Rawls. I've got to talk about Thomas Rawls. He was an undrafted rookie, and pretty much everybody, not just us who don't, to be honest, know what we're really talking about. But even the proper experts, the people who actually know what they're talking about, nobody saw it coming. He was just amazing.
It happens that way with running backs.
He was outstanding.
It
It does.
That's why their value drops in the draft,
Yeah.
and you don't see as many people go as high as Gurley
Arian
anymore.
Foster was the same, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah, that's true. So Thomas Rawls and Seahawks, again, as we said, they're going to be fine without Lynch. If Lynch doesn't come back, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're not going to have any issues at the running back position because Rawls was a beast. 800 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving. He did have a fumble, but who hasn't this day and age? And yes, it was a kind of situation of opportunity with Lynch going down, but he certainly lived up to it, and so much so that who really wanted Lynch to come back?
Yeah, I mean, they tried a few things as well, because they did try and get Christian Michael.
You right there?
Yeah, just someone.
They had Fred Jackson as well.
They did have Fred Jackson. Yeah, I forgot about Fred Jackson.
Fred Jackson.
Yeah, drafted by Bill, the random draft guy.
And maybe just worthy just to point out the most fortunate pick, or it wasn't actually a pick, but Lil Collins
I was
arriving at the Cowboys. They were very fortunate, but it makes a already dominant O-line even more dominant.
Well, he was touted to be a first rounder, wasn't he?
He's got first round skill level.
I felt sorry for him at the time because it was I can't even remember what the charge was, but it was something to do with the police, and it wasn't even really to do with him. He was innocent in it. Yeah, it was his girlfriend or something like that. And he had done nothing wrong, but because he had that stigma, he was dropped.
I can't believe no one took a punt on him in round 7.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
when
it
you
cost
go
him a lot
that
of money as
deep,
well.
how often do you hit
Well,
on a
he
7th
he
round
said
pick
he
anyway?
wouldn't sign for someone if they picked him then, but realistically, he's not that stupid.
Yeah.
Just having a look, I'm not really finding anyone in round 7 whose name I actually recognise.
No.
So it's.
But I do like the guy who was picked at. This was a Colts pick, actually, number 255 in the draft, who was from a university called Mars Hill.
Yes.
No, I just like that.
The
I don't know
offensive
where that
tackle
is.
Denzel Good. Yeah, Denzel Good, who probably wasn't that good. So
ironic again.
So that's I think that's a good place to stop, really. So we've talked about mainly players who we think have had a really good season and who we think are going to have a decent season next year. There are obviously, we could talk about this all night, but I think we've gone enough for today.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for everyone around the table. So that's Danny, Matthew, and Steve. As I said, next week we're going to be back again, sort of Wednesday, Thursday time, with a little chat about the draft. Not the draft. The draft. That's too early. Combine. As to how it's gone. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about any players that we thought did well. I forgot to say at the start, but again, thank you to Joe Henley and his band Crap Crab for their Crab Riff, which is a song that plays at the intro and the outro. You can find them on Facebook. You can also find his other band, the Over Everythings. Thank you really to the whole team. There's been a lot of effort been put into today, particularly from Dave, even though he's wrong.
Can't turn him off, can you?
But, well, yeah, you can't turn him off. But again, as I say, thank you everybody, and we will see you soon.